Welcome one, welcome all to the SnailTrail4x4 Podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course hearing about how awesome stock 2.28 geared transfer cases are, then this is the podcast for you. I'm your host today, Tyler, and joining me here in the one and only great SnailTrail4x4 studio is Jimmy Senor Jet. Senor Jimmy Jet, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Tyler.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm excited to be doing the podcast again. Always fun to be here, sitting aside the table with you.
Aw, that's so cute. So cool. That's cool that you're good to be here. You're having a good day. It's better than having a bad day. So,
absolutely.
Any day recording is better than a bad day at work? Question mark?
Sure. We'll go with that.
Okay, cool. So yeah, thanks to everybody out there because you guys are here watching us in YouTube land and possibly listening to us in podcast land. We continue doing this for you guys, and we continue doing it for our own sanity as well. So it's a great time. Yeah. Make sure to go by and check out the Patreon account for the monthly giveaway. We are doing a $100 gift card to Factor 55 for this month. And then next week, we'll be announcing the giveaway for October.
Yeah.
Or I guess this week.
Yeah.
Because this is coming out on Thursday. Monday. So this Thursday, we'll be announcing the giveaway for October. So stay tuned for that over on the podcast side of things. We'll re-announce it on next Monday for the YouTube side. So
yep. If you want things ahead of schedule, go download the podcast.
Check it out. And with that, let's head right on over to today's Campfire Discussions, where we have a fun topic. And I'm pretty sure it's going to dive into a few different rabbit holes here. So hang out and we'll be right on back with today's Campfire Discussions. Welcome back, ladies, gents, and kiddos. Have we decided, because if this is a kiddo podcast...
Well, we have an E on every single one of our podcasts.
We do now. So maybe not kiddos, maybe kiddos. That just depends on how you want what you want your kiddos watching or listening, I guess.
Or what you get called. I mean, my parents still call me a big kid, so.
You kind of are.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody.
If your kiddo's over 18, have them listen.
Okay, there we go.
We're not that bad.
We're not that. I think
we just drop a few cuss words, which is what I think they give us an E.
Yeah, that's why we get the E rating on there. But I mean, if you think about movies,
we wouldn't even be
a
an
few
R.
Cuss words, we wouldn't even be an R. We would be a TV-13, I think, or TV-15 maybe. PG-13,
yeah.
TV, or YouTube 13, YouTube 15, PG-13.
I don't know. Is an F-bomb move you up to 13 instead of regular PG?
I heard somewhere that you're allowed one F-bomb in a movie and no more than that in order to still maintain a PG-13 rating.
So we're PG-13.
I think we're PG-13.
Yeah.
So
with an occasional NC-17.
Yeah. Yes. Especially when we start talking about where you're keeping your cameras and tripods.
They weren't in there, by the way. I just went and looked.
I was very curious as to why he was looking in there, though.
I was confused.
He was very, it was an early morning start today. So anyways, yeah, cool. Welcome back, everybody. Today's Campfire Discussion is going to be a fun one because it's all about me. Just kidding. It's not all about me. It's more about the second gen 4Runner and my experiences with it so far. And Jimmy, I know, has some questions that he was asking me. And I said, I'm not going to answer them. I'm going to wait until the podcast so that you can answer them on there.
Yeah.
So, or ask them on there and I can answer them on there here. But there is here now. So
that's confusing.
I'm being really confusing.
I heard they're making another Matrix movie and that sounded a lot like the Matrix.
It does.
Huh?
Is it going to have Toyotas in the Matrix movie?
I don't know, but if it does, we could talk about it.
Yay! So yeah, what I did this weekend, I took the second gen on its maiden voyage, and it did fantastic.
And, well, hold on. Time out.
Backing up. Okay.
You took it on
fantastic in reverse too.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Excellent. No modifications have been done to it since you purchased it.
Correct. Absolutely nothing has been done.
So you took it out on the maiden voyage in its stock form before anything has been done.
Well, not
before
not
anything.
stock.
Well, in
How I purchased
the original form. Well, yeah, how you purchased it form.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I just wanted to clarify because we did talk about on one of the last podcasts that we were going to do all this work, right? And
that's true.
He left, and none of the work happened.
No.
And so you went out wheeling.
I did.
In the 4Runner.
I did.
Unmodified by our hands.
Untouched by our hands. Unmolested by our hands.
And so where'd you go?
I went to Deer Valley and Strawberry Pass.
Okay.
And then in between there, I went to a really cool campsite that I'm going to keep hidden for now.
Ooh.
Just because it is a very cool campsite. You can check it out on the Instagram, over on the gram at 4x4 Toyota Tyler. I don't know. I may have actually posted where it is to somebody. I don't remember yet.
You told me.
I told you, but I don't know if I want to make it public just yet. But I'm leading a trip in 4 weeks here to do the High Sierra Triple Play. I guess 3 weeks from when this episode airs. To do the High Sierra Triple Play, which is Slick Rock, Deer Valley, and Strawberry Pass. And I'm going to take the group and camp there overnight between Strawberry and Deer Valley.
Ooh.
So it's going to be very cold when we go and do this. So everybody needs to pack warm. If you guys know, you know who you are if you're going on that trip. So make sure to pack very warm clothes. It is at 8,700 feet. And we'll talk a little bit more about the campsite when we get there. But anyways, I took the rig up to Deer Valley and Strawberry.
You didn't post the location on your Instagram.
On Instagram? Okay.
No. You just said, my new favorite place.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, so it's my new favorite place, and which is pretty big because Barrett Lake is awesome. That was previously my favorite place to go camping. And so this place, I think, topped it.
Wow.
So it's 8,700 feet right along the Pacific Crest Trail.
Oh, cool.
I actually, for the first time ever, I think I stepped a foot on the Pacific Crest Trail.
Really?
So, yeah. No, that's not true. I think I did.
Have you never hiked in Yosemite?
I don't think I have, no. I've only been through and camping in Yosemite. I don't think I've ever been hiking. I was too young.
Oh.
Yeah.
Too young?
Yeah.
You haven't been there in that long?
Yeah. I don't like crowds. That's why I don't go to the Rubicon on weekends.
Yosemite is like by far one of the prettiest places in the world.
I agree 100%. So is Yellowstone. Yellowstone's awesome.
Yellowstone's pretty fun.
But yeah, I don't like crowds. So it's tough for me to get there.
It's worth it.
Crowds ruin it for me, man. But anyways, so this place, awesome. I think I have stepped on the PCT before outside of Wrights Lake. And the Barrett Lake. There's Desolation Wilderness goes right through there, and there's a little hiking trail that goes off to Dark Lake at the Wrights Lake, in between Wrights Lake and Barrett Lake. And I think as you go on there, that actually touches part of the PCT.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so this one travels for quite a bit longer ways along the PCT than I would have thought would be good, because I'm like, how do hikers feel about all these 4x4 rigs and other rigs coming through this area so close to the PCT? But it's there, and that's what it is. And I will give a hint. It's near a nipple. If you want to go finding it, that's your hint.
Nice. I have a friend that hiked a section of the PCT, and he hiked the John Muir Trail.
Okay.
Which goes from Yosemite to Mount Whitney.
Okay. Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, hey, do you need a food drop? Like, because he was hiking for, I think it was like a month.
Oh, geez.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was like 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
And he would get food, like somebody would meet him somewhere, or he did a postage to somewhere for like 4 days worth of food, right?
Okay.
And then he would hike.
Yeah.
And I was like, is there anywhere on this trail that you are going to have to get an extended period of food? Like, can I help you out? And he said, I'm shipping like 8 days worth of food to this location because there's nowhere between these two spots. And I did some research, and I found a hiking trail that goes in and meets the John Muir Trail. And I said, hey, I'll hike in, the 5 miles or whatever,
Mhm.
and I'll carry 4 days worth of food for you.
Yeah.
Or 5 days worth of food for you. And I'll meet you and I'll camp the night with you and we'll just kick it right here.
Nice.
And then you can go on. And it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
It was really cool. What was funny was it was somewhat near the end of his trip.
Mhm.
Like he had another like a week to go.
Okay.
And he was pretty much done. And he was tired at that point. He was gone for a while and he was tired of all the food that he had packed for himself.
He needed
right.
some
And so,
different food.
yeah, he wanted different food. So I showed up with my food and
Uh-huh.
he was like, "Can I eat that?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so I gave him my food. I ate some of his food.
Uh-huh.
Right. And then he had food left over. So
Uh-huh.
I pretty much carried all the food out
Oh, geez.
that I carried in because he wasn't eating as much as he planned and all these
Okay.
things. And so, but when I was hiking out, I ran into some like nature, like Forest Service people
Okay.
that one of them broke their leg and they had to,
What?
not one of the people I was there with.
Mhm.
So one of the Forest Service people broke their leg. They had an extra day of hiking to go drop them off at a helicopter landing pad.
Uh-huh.
And then they were hiking another day, an extra day
Wow.
to go out. And
Uh-huh.
they're like, "Yeah, we ran out of food yesterday and all this stuff." I'm like, "I have so much
That's
food.
so much
Do you
food.
guys
Take
want
it.
any
Yeah,
food?"
please.
And I just opened my pack up and they like hit me like rats. And they would start pulling out their camp stoves and everything right there on the
Wow.
top of the mountain. And and I told my buddy, I was like, "Hey, I gave all your food away."
Yeah.
And I told him the story. And he's like, "Dude, no problem. That's great. That's
fine.
exactly what it should go for."
Nice.
And
That's cool.
But it was a lot of fun. It was a good, I like backpacking.
Yeah.
It's fun. And one of the things that I like about backpacking, I know this is completely off of the main topic,
Mhm.
but is the fact that I then pack my truck fairly light when I go
Yeah.
off-roading.
When you go off-roading. Unlike
And-
some other people around here.
Yeah. Like all my camping gear is in like a Rubbermaid tub.
Yeah.
And it's like I have a tight sleeping bag, I have a good camping tent, and I have I bring 2 hammocks. Like I bring all this now extra stuff that I would never take backpacking, but it still fits in a really small area.
Nice.
Yeah. I went, let's choose backpacking stuff and then start buying off-roading camping gear
Mm-hmm.
because I can always use the backpacking stuff as my
As hiking and
off-roading
everything.
camping
Yeah.
gear.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Dual purpose.
Yep.
So,
Anyways, back to the topic.
what were we talking about again? I'm
We were
just kidding.
talking about your trip. So where'd you start?
So we started at Hermit Valley, at the south end of Deer Valley. So I was a little bit concerned doing Deer Valley south to north because I don't have a front locker.
Okay.
There's
yeah.
no way. It's a completely open front end on the second gen
Right.
currently.
And starting that trail, you start right into the thick of things. Like I guess
Mhm.
their gatekeeper,
Mhm.
right,
Mhm.
is pretty aggressive.
It's pretty aggressive. You
Mhm.
just you do have to be careful about your line through there.
Yeah.
If you pick the wrong line, there's a couple big holes there that you can get very far off camber.
Yeah.
The guy that was kind of leading the trip that put it all together, he forgot to disconnect his sway bars.
Oh.
And so he was having a lot of issues, and he normally doesn't have issues
Okay.
at
That's
all.
funny.
And he was having some issues getting through gatekeeper. And so we finally got him through, and he at one point got his tire like 4 feet up in the air. And I was
Wow.
like, Jeff, I've never seen your TJ stretch this much out and that you're lifting a tire that far.
Yeah.
And then we found out later in the day that he didn't have his sway bars disconnected.
that's
So he did
funny.
all of Deer Valley with his sway bars connected.
Oh, wow. Yeah. When we went through that section with
Mhm.
Power Tank,
Mm-hmm.
the Power Tank LJ on 40s was struggling right in there.
Really?
Uh-huh.
It is definitely like if you're not, if you look at it from the bottom end of that gatekeeper, that little obstacle there, you think, okay, I should go up high on the
Mhm.
left kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for JKs, that's the worst line. Or
Right.
JLs,
Yeah.
anything like with that wheelbase and width, that's the worst line to take.
Sure.
But when you look at it and you're like, that's the line you should be taking.
Okay.
And so is that the line he was taking or?
No, he just didn't turn his lockers on.
Oh,
So he was
Okay.
struggling in there and he was having this tough time.
yeah.
And then they're like, turn your lockers on. And then he
Mhm.
walked through it. But
Okay.
it was like, he couldn't figure out why he wasn't
Yeah.
going anywhere. But yeah, so it was funny.
That's funny. That reminds me of I was on a Rubicon trip with a guy when we did the Mad Hatter's trail maintenance that we do on Whitewater Springs.
Mm-hmm.
We were coming back out of the bowl, And there's that little ledge at the top of the bowl on the gatekeeper side.
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to get up that and he couldn't make it up and couldn't figure out why he wasn't. He was like ramming it.
Oh no.
And it wasn't going up. And so his passenger just slyly reached over and went, flipped on his lockers, and he walked right up and he goes, "Oh, that was easy. What made that so much easier?" Because he didn't realize his passenger reached over and flipped his lockers on.
Yeah.
And so after he met through, he goes, "Yeah, I turned on your locker."
Nice.
Goes, "Oh, that's right." Yeah, so I went through the gatekeeper. I didn't have really any issues getting through it. I made it through the main part of it, but there's a little spot just after the gatekeeper.
Before the sharp left?
Before the sharp left
Okay.
that I felt myself getting to, and I was having trouble getting up and over. I could feel my front end, one of my tires spinning, the other one not.
Okay.
And then the rears were both spinning, just kind of digging a hole.
Sure.
And so I had to back up there and give it a little bit of goose.
3-tire fire.
Exactly, the 3-tire fire. I have to get a little bit of goose to get up over that. So, but other than that, that was the only place that I had to, where the front locker, no front locker was an issue at all.
Okay. And were you in both low gears in the T cases when you were doing that?
I was in both low gears doing that. It was that was the only spot I really had any issues. After that, I was like, okay, I should pay more attention to my lines and picking my lines, because I'm so used to in the first gen, just going wherever, not even really paying attention, just going.
You're right.
And driving through. And so I started paying a little bit more attention after that, and had no problems. I was walked right through everything else.
Yeah. Which is interesting to think about that, there's, for us, right, with your first gen and Bobcat, the rig's built so well that we kind of don't have to pay as much attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
And removing some things brings a little bit more layer of difficulty to it.
Yes.
And you have to enhance your skill level a little bit more, right? So it's kind of a fun thing to think about. Like, hey, you want to have a more difficult time on some fun trails? Like,
don't run your lockers.
Or go down to 31-inch tires, or, something like that.
Or if you're driving your car, take out all the safety sense features of your car.
Right? And learn how to drift.
Yeah, exactly.
Control your slide.
No, totally. And that's, it was nice. It was kind of fun. To be in that situation where I can't just flip on a locker if I'm just driving and put myself in a stupid situation and get out of it. So
sure. Okay.
Having to actually pay attention more.
How did the tires work, and what'd you air down to?
So when I started, I aired down to 4.
Yeah.
At Hermit Valley.
Wow. Okay.
And everyone was kind of sitting there because everyone was watching, because I'm the last person to show up. Everyone had stayed the night there.
Okay.
So I was meeting the group. They had done Slick Rock the day before.
Got it.
And then camped at Hermit Valley overnight. And then we were going to go in and do Deer Valley that day.
Got it.
So I met everybody there and aired down. I pulled out the Morphlate, and people were like, "Oh, so you're going to show us the real way to air down?" I was like, "Yep." So I had the digital gauge on there, so it was super easy, and people were standing 15 feet away, and they're like, "Are you going to stop airing down yet?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've never aired these tires down and wheeled on them yet."
Yeah.
They're the Maxxis Creepy Crawlers. They're load range D.
Okay.
And they have some gnarly sidewalls to them.
Yeah.
I have bead locks on them, so I can go down as far as I want to. So I'm just going to keep airing it down until I kick the tire and it jiggles as much as I want it to jiggle, and it starts pooching as much as I want it to pooch, and then I'll see what PSI that's at.
Right.
So I went down and where it started getting to the point where I was like, okay, I should start thinking about stop airing down, was at 4 PSI.
Wow.
And so I was like, I'll just run it at that for the day. So I ran it at 4. And then the next day at Strawberry, I ran it at 3.
Dang.
And that did great. So 4 PSI was where I ran it on Friday.
Okay.
And did fine. I didn't really notice the tire folding. Like, I like my tires to fold as I go up and over stuff. But on Strawberry, I did, there's one section, one little spot on Strawberry that has any kind of rocks to go over right now.
Yeah.
And that's the V-Rock section. And that, at 3 PSI, my tire did fold slightly, which is where I want my tires at when I'm rock crawling.
Yeah. And those those sidewalls on those tires are massive.
They're massive. Yeah.
And so, even airing down to like 3, and it's just, and you know, the second gen runner is heavier.
It is heavier
than your first gen. So, it's kind of crazy to think that you probably would just pull the valve stems cores out on the first gen, and it would just start folding like that. Interesting. Okay.
The gross vehicle weight rating on the sticker on the inside of the door for the second gen is 5,400 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, that seems high.
Yeah.
The first gen, I want to say it was right under 4,000, like 38.
Oh, wow.
Something like that. 39. So
it's like 1,400 pounds more.
Yeah. Big difference. Wow. So yeah, we ran
3/4 of a ton.
Yeah. It's kind of, I was
gnarly.
like, wow, okay. But then I have the 22 RE in it, which is the smaller engine from the one that was originally in it.
True.
The transmission, the W56, everything. So I don't know. But then I have
two T cases,
so
bumpers.
That is one thing I really want to do is go and put my IROX on the second gen and then go weigh it. So I'm not too far from the local dump that has a big scale, and you'll just drive in, just say, hey, I'm not here to dump anything. Can you just weigh me and give me a readout, and they'll just give you one. So I'm looking at doing that here eventually after we do the big swappy swap. But yeah, Deer Valley was good. We made it from Hermit Valley to the North River crossing where we took some pictures.
Is that the one, it's the second river crossing? Or the first?
The second one is the north one.
Okay.
It's the second one if you're going from south to north. It's the first one if you're going north to south.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
I just call it the North River Crossing and the South River Crossing now.
Yep.
But we stopped at the North River Crossing and took some pictures and videos of people going through the river. Yep. And everybody was running I was running with all Jeeps that day. JKs and one JL.
Nice. Okay.
They all had their doors off, and a couple of them had their tops off, and so they were all kind of ginger going through the river. And then I was last in the pack because I've got full doors and everything, and so I can handle all the dust that they're creating.
Sure, right. You also have AC.
And I also have AC, which is nice. And I just blasted through the river, which was fun. I stopped and I had to stop and think about it for a second. I was like, okay, where's my air intake on this rig?
Yeah.
22 RE, so it should be behind the front driver's side light. So as long as I don't pillow up and splash through it all and just rooster tail it, I can go as fast as I want.
Kind of, yeah.
So that's what I did.
Nice.
It was fun. And so they got a nice video of me flying through the river.
Oh, fun. Good.
Which was nice. I also got to kind of rinse the car off because it was super dusty following those guys through the trail. Fun story. There was a guy riding with the lead car that stayed and kind of helped people spot people through the gatekeeper.
Okay.
And so me being the last person, he kind of stopped and kind of spotted me through, and we made it through the gatekeeper, and then he kind of looked at me and everybody else kind of left him.
Yeah.
So he kind of looks, he goes, can I just ride with you? I was like, yeah, come on over.
Yeah.
So
hop in.
He owns a first gen Tacoma extra cab. Okay. So not the 4-door. So it's before the 4-door. And the TRD off-road. So he has a rear locker, IFS on 33s. So it's funny. He got in the second gen. He goes, this feels like home. As compared to riding in one of the Jeeps, the JL. So... Yeah, he was fun. We got along great. We talked about Toyotas the entire time, and he ended up riding with me for the whole trip, Friday and Saturday.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
He didn't want any of that Jeep cooties.
He didn't want any of the Jeep cooties. Yeah. It was pretty fun. So he had a good time. I let him drive a little bit towards the end of Deer Valley because, for me, I just wanted to feel how the suspension was working out, how the shocks worked out, because I've got the Fox 2.0 shocks up in the front.
Yeah.
And I want to say they're either 15 or 16 inch, something like that.
Okay.
They're definitely bigger than the 14 inch shocks, but they're not quite as big as my 17s in the first gen.
Got it.
So, but they ride great. They did well. The suspension did pretty well.
That's what I have under Bobcat.
Okay.
This is the Fox 2.0s.
Yeah. So I did well. I liked them. The shocks in the rear, the low range off-road, and I think those are the 14s, the 14-inch flavor. But the rear suspension definitely sags quite a bit once I get, it sags without any gear in it.
Yes, it
But
does.
once I put gear in it, it's like 3 inches, 3.5 inches lower in the rear. So that's going to be on the to-do list for sure. But this run was kind of like, okay, I have my plan of what I was thinking I wanted to do. And then it was now driving the rig on the maiden voyage to see if what I really want to do is really what I want to do.
Sort of a shakedown run.
Kind of, yeah.
Like, let's figure this rig out. Let's actually test it. Let's, put it through some paces and let's see how everything works and see what I actually need to change or should change.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it did great. And after I kind of felt everything out for the first all of Deer Valley up to the second river crossing. I let him drive pretty much from the North River crossing out to Blue Lakes, where we aired up.
There's one or two little obstacles.
There's a couple little spots there.
Some little climb. Yeah.
So he had fun playing around with the dual cases.
Sure.
So putting it into the low and he goes, man, this is cheating. And I was like, that's great. That's why the gearing is awesome.
It's not cheating. It's just benefit, a bonus, a help. It's just amazing. Yeah. Gearing, I think, is like one of the most untalked about, underrated, but beneficial things on off-roading.
I'm always amazed at how much Jeeps and Jeep owners don't talk about gearing and going into
all owners, not Jeeps. It's like in the last podcast we were talking about Brennan with Trail 4R and talking about upgrading his diff gears, and there's, we're talking, Jeep owners or Rubicons come with a 4-to-1 ratio. Yeah, T-case, right? Which is awesome. A stock one, I think, I don't know what their stock, like non-Rubicon T-cases are, but I'm assuming it's around a 2 or a 3.
It's like a 2.8, I think. Yeah. So slightly more than a Toyota T-case.
Right. And then we add T-cases. Yeah. And we also go low gears in the third members, and it's just all that stuff just makes a world of difference when you're off-roading, and you don't have to power over things. You can finesse over it, and maybe that's some of the, withholding or, some of the things that people aren't interested, people like actually kind of whiskey throttling over stuff, or that's the word I was looking for, and showing horsepower and showing what they can do. But, in my mind, I'm like, you know what? If I could just putt over this thing, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I don't like horsepower on the trail. I'm a huge believer in torque for rock crawling. I get it. If you're doing lots of ledges, there may be times when horsepower can be beneficial, but for the most part, the types of wheeling that we do in the Sierras, the high Sierras, horsepower is almost never the answer or your friend on the trails.
It's not like you do the Rubicon and you have people with LSs out there, and then you have people like us with the 22RE, and we both make it. Yep. We both go through, and it's not, you don't absolutely need it. No. I guess it's one of those things. It's like, it's nice when you need it and it's there, where we just never have it, in the first place. I don't know.
I haven't really found any situations yet where my 22RE isn't enough, except for snow wheeling. I can give it that. I can say in snow wheeling, there's a few times in snow wheeling where I'm like, I wish I did have more power for this. In
the sand, I do. Also in Moab, there was some ledges out there. And, like I never went up Widowmaker. We didn't go out that way, but, I think that the ledge that I did go up on Metal Masher was pretty gnarly, and that was small compared to Widowmaker. Right. And I was like, I don't know if I would have been able to do it. I don't know if I had the horsepower. I had the torque, but you can't idle up those things. No. So anyway, so he got to play with the dual T cases.
He got to play with the dual T cases, and they worked really well. I do have a gripe with dual 2.28s.
Okay, what's that?
So is that, in my opinion, I don't know, maybe it's the dual 2.28s with leaf springs. The rig was still just with one case in. It was still not geared low enough to do crawling, so I wasn't bouncing off of rocks. Okay. Kind of thing. So I like to just ooze over rocks, right? Sure. And with just one of those in, I wasn't able to ooze. I had to have both of them in order to ooze over rocks in the rock garden sections, kind of thing. And so it was a pain in the butt to always have to keep playing and pushing in the dual cases and taking them back out and shifting the cases in and out all the time.
So you shifted a lot because you had the stock and then another stock, and you weren't in the 4.7 the whole time.
Correct. And
so why didn't you just leave both in 2.28s, both in low, and just do fourth gear?
Because there was other times when I needed to go faster, I guess. And like fourth gear, I just felt like it was whining the transmission too much, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, when I did Deer Valley a month or so ago now, I was shifting from the 4.7 to the stock low on that trail a lot also. I mean, and then in essence, that's sort of what you were doing.
Yeah, I guess. I felt like
I think it's just that trail.
Maybe it's just that trail.
Because that trail has, got the gatekeeper, you have some climbs, but then you have like a river crossing, and then you have some flatter stretches.
There's
like after
stretches.
that, the South River Crossing, as you call it. You're nice and smooth. I was in the stock low gear in like third gear going through that area.
I was too a few times.
I think it's just more that trail is there's faster sections and then there's slower sections and on that trail. Let's jump ahead for a quick second. How was Strawberry?
Strawberry was super. I can almost do that trail in 2-wheel drive right now. I can do it in 2-wheel-drive.
Right. So were you just in low?
I was just in the stock low, the 2.28 the whole time.
Right. So you would have been there. You would have done, if you would have your rig, the first gen, you just would have been the stock low. Also.
I would have been in 4 high with the front case in, probably.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like
it's the same thing.
It is the same thing, but I felt like I was shifting more than I would have with a 4.7 rear, because I don't remember having to shift that much and having to come to a complete stop to shift, because whenever you put in one of the cases, you have to come to a complete stop. You can't just push the clutch in and shift gears with the transmission.
Yeah. I don't know, because when I feel like you were, my guess is you're shifting actually technically less, because to put it in the 4.7, you are taking it out of the low. You're having to move, like you're taking it out of the stock one and the 4.7, right? So you have
I never have it in the stock one. I usually run in the 4.7.
Right, but and then when you get to the faster speed sections, you've got to move the 4.7 to 4 high, and then now you got to move the stock one into low. And then when you go back to 4.7, you got to move the stock one into high, and then the other one into the 4.7s. But
I don't normally do that, though.
Well, so like in the fast sections, are you just going to stay in your 4.7?
Most of the time.
So then
unless I know it's a long section.
Right. So then why didn't you just stay in low?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because you're having to shift more if you're going to the higher gear in your 4.7.
If I go out of the 4.7.
If you go out of 4.7 and you go into the stock, you have to do 2 shifts.
There's more steps to shift, yes, but I don't do it as often.
Right. So you felt that you had the ability to go to the higher gear, the stock T case more.
I definitely drove faster in this. Whether I would or not with a 4.7 rear, I don't think I would. So that's the difference.
You would have stayed slower.
I would have stayed probably slower in the 4.7.
Because there's more shifting.
Because there's more shifting.
Right.
Maybe.
So because you had the ability to shift to the stock T case easier, you shifted more often.
Probably. Yeah.
Because I remember shifting a lot on that trail.
Huh. Okay.
Because I was trying to keep up with Steve.
Maybe I need to drive it by myself, because last time I did it on my own with nobody with me, I drove it in 2.5 hours and just cruised through.
Yeah.
In the first gen, with that 4.7 case, with that 4.7 gear. So this time I did it with the group, and it took us like 6 hours, 5.5 hours to do it. And maybe it was with the group, and that's why I was shifting a lot, and
they were slowing you down.
I don't know. But I did notice that I missed having that 4.7 gear there. And I didn't really need a super low, like the 250-to-1 on either of those trails.
Right.
But I wish it was still there, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know.
That makes sense.
It was kind of like I didn't really need a front locker, but I wish it was there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really the thing, right? That you have the ability to go down to a 4. What's 2.28 times 2.28?
It would end up around 140 to 150 to 1. I think, is with the 2.28s instead of a 4.7.
So 2.28 times 2.28 is 5.2.
Okay.
So you are running around in a 5.2.
Yeah.
And then you were shifting up to the 2.28.
Yeah.
And that's what you do normally. You're normally in a 4.7.
A 4.7, yeah.
And so maybe the 5.2 was just so much lower.
Maybe. I don't know.
that you're used to. And that's, yeah. And then the thing is, whenever I'm driving around, I'm in my 4.7 driving all around. And then unless I need to go faster, I'll shift up to the 2.28.
Uh-huh.
And then when I come to a really difficult situation, I'm shifting it into both of them into low.
Okay.
And to go do, like soup bowl or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's nice there when I hit a difficult terrain. But almost the majority of the time I'm running around in my 4.7.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the things I was trying to figure out for Lloyd when I was going to build Lloyd. When I build Lloyd, it's kind of going to be a trail rig. It's not going to be anything aggressive. I'm going to use it more of an overlanding kind of style setup. Should I put 2 stock T cases in? Or should I put 1 4.7 in?
Yeah.
And I didn't end up doing either, but that was a debate going on in my head about where do I go?
Because you're not going to use them for extreme stuff like soup bowl or the Rubicon or Ford Ice or stuff like that.
I don't need to go that low.
You don't need that low, yeah. I definitely didn't need to be 250 to 1.
Not on these trails.
Not on these trails for sure.
Trails. Yeah.
And so that's kind of the other thing is the gearing of it. I like the gearing of the W56 transmission more than the gearing of my R151.
On the road or and on the trail?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And again, I've always complained about my R151 that I wish it had a gear 2.5.
Okay.
I wish it, because the R151 tops out with a 22RE at in second gear at 25 miles an hour.
Right.
And then third gear tops out at 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So it's I wish I had something that I could do 40 in, because at 40 miles an hour going up a hill, the 22RE doesn't have enough power with an R151 to keep it in third gear.
Interesting.
And I have to run in second gear, but then I feel like I'm holding up everybody behind me.
Sure.
But those low gears are awesome for riding on the trail.
Yeah. So R151 is kind of a trailer queen.
Kind of, yeah.
Something that should be used primarily on the trail, rarely on the road.
Yeah.
In your opinion?
In my opinion, yes. So I really enjoyed having a long first and second gear in the W56 for driving around in between the trails, and I didn't feel like I needed to be any lower.
Right.
If I had that, I feel like if I had that 4.7 gear, then first and second gear in 4 low with the 4.7 was going to be plenty for a majority of trails I was going to be on.
Sure.
Because then it would be geared almost identical. It would be geared identically to how Bobcat is.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
When you, in the first gen, when you're say you're on the Rubicon and you're not in a very extremely difficult spot, you're kind of cruising down the trail. Let's say you're coming up to Walker Hill.
Okay.
Right. What gearing are you normally in?
Second gear. With the 4.7?
Second gear and 4.7?
Yep.
So that is first gear in mine.
Oh, really?
Right? Well, I mean, you're saying, so first gear, super low. Second gear
would be equivalent to it.
Is the equivalent to my first gear.
Probably.
Right? And then it goes from there, right? So, because in the R151, first gear is lower.
It's a 4.3, and second gear is 3.8. Which I believe 3.8, 3.7 or 3.8, that's the W56 first gear.
Right. So that's my first gear.
Yeah.
Were you driving around in your low first gear?
No, it was too low. I drove around for a little bit in the low second gear. But for the most part, I was driving around in just one case first gear. Or maybe one case second gear. But for the most part, one case first gear. So.
Got it. Yeah. Interesting. That trail's, I mean, there's sections of that trail that aren't very difficult. So it's pretty smooth sailing.
I mean, it's kind of like, I don't want to say Barrett Lake in a way. Barrett Lake is a much bigger trail to do, much more difficult than Deer Valley. Yeah. But it's kind of like where there's a couple sections of difficult spread by
the gatekeeper,
sections
the S-turn.
where you can just cruise through.
Yeah, on Barrett though, I was in third gear in your my 4.7.
That's about right. That's usually what I ran it in the first gen.
Yeah.
So second or third, right around there.
And I never really changed I didn't go to stock gear at all.
Okay.
I think I did the crawl low, in the S-turn.
In the S-turn.
But I was in low, second gear or third gear.
Oh.
It's like,
okay.
which I'm sure which is an interesting trade-off. We could probably have a whole discussion on this where, that's the same gearing as probably the 4.7 first gear.
Yeah.
But my engine's going twice as fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The engine and gearing and drive shaft are turning twice as fast than the tires are turning. So I have more momentum when I hit the rock.
Yeah.
And so I won't stall.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. That was another thing. Speaking of the engine, the 22RE that is in the second gen is more powerful and smoother than the 22RE I have in the first gen.
Oh, wow.
And for some reason, the second gen's 22RE, and we need to check the timing on it to make sure that my the RPM tachometer is correct. It runs 1,000 RPMs lower than my first gen 22RE does.
What's it running at?
Like I cruise down the freeway at 70 miles an hour at about 2,000 RPMs, 2,200 RPMs, something like that.
Interesting.
And the first gen at 70 miles an hour, I'm at like 3,000 RPMs, 3,100.
Yeah, I'm probably high. I'm thinking I don't have a tach in, which I did make a mistake in one of our last podcasts when I was talking about FJ Anna.
Oh, that's right. We got called out on it.
I got called out on that. It's an odometer.
Odometer,
not a tachometer.
Yes.
She has an odometer box in the corner that helps her track her distance.
Okay. Not
a tachometer, which is the RPMs.
Your RPMs.
Yeah,
correct.
I said the wrong thing. But yeah, I think I don't have a tach in Bobcat. But when I'm going 70, it's spinning fast.
It's going pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. I'm like, so are my gears and my diffs actually 529s or are they 411s?
Yeah. I don't know.
We can check. We got to pull the diffs to find out. So
you don't have to.
Well, I guess we can turn the tires and get
turn the tires, count the drive shaft. I have a video on that.
Yeah, go check it out. How to find your gear ratio? Is that the one it is? So yeah, so I'm curious to see if my diffs are actually 529s, like the guy said they were. Feels when I'm crawling in 4 low that they are, but when I'm on the highway, it does not feel like it is. The engine idles according to the tachometer, it idles at about 500 to 600 RPM.
That seems a little low.
It seems low to me. When I first turn on the engine when it's warm, it idles at like 300 RPM.
Oh, wow.
And then after I get it going and, drive around and come to a stop. So I think we need to check the timing, check the timing light if it actually is running at the same RPMs that the tachometer says it's running at. But yeah, it was really interesting to me that, I was cruising around at like 1,100 RPMs doing in like second gear. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. The tachometer and the RPMs didn't feel right compared to what I'm used to with the 22RE.
Gotcha.
Like I top out my torque curve tops out at 3,000 RPMs, whereas like in my first gen, my torque curve tops out at like 4,000 to 4,200 RPMs. I don't know. It's a really interesting thing. And I want to figure out if it's just the latest. That's something they did with the latest iteration of the 22RE.
Or the transmission.
Transmission is making that much of a difference in the W56.
Or if you do have the right gears in your axles. What gears do you have?
What's going on with it? So I need to look into that more.
Yep.
I like it the way it is. So I'm like, I want to know what's going on more than necessarily fix it at the moment. I was able to go up and over Carson Pass, which is a pretty big pass.
Yeah.
And I was able to be in second gear at 35, 40 miles an hour. So I didn't feel like I was holding up traffic like I would in the first gen doing 25 miles an hour up Carson Pass.
Right.
It did great all the way through. There was a lot of times I was able to hold third gear at 50 miles an hour, which is about, in the first gen, I'd hold third gear 40, 45 miles an hour. So not too much off difference there. The main difference is really that first and second gear.
Yeah.
Driving on the highway, which I liked a lot better than the R151. So, but that brings now the W56 is a significantly more weak transmission than the R151. It's definitely not as beefy. It's not going to handle power and torque and getting bound up
Right.
It's going to snap before the R151 would.
Not behind a 22RE.
But not behind a 22RE, exactly.
But if you do decide you want to go to a larger engine, then you might want to have the beefier transmission.
Yeah. And so I know when we talked about what's the plans with the midlife crisis decisions in episode 25, that was one of the things I wasn't sure about. Mm-hmm. If I would want to go up to a bigger engine later on down the road. And as of right now, I don't think I want to.
Okay.
I really like the way this one and it's all working together right now on the road. And I think once I get that 4.7 gear in there, I'm going to really like the way it works on the trail too. I'm going to be geared low enough to be happy on the trail. So
nice. Okay.
Yeah. So definitely the rear T-case.
Yep.
Get that 4.7 gear swapped over, and definitely the axles. Mm-hmm. I did really like having a full-time locked rear axle on the trail this weekend.
Yeah.
That was really nice. I didn't have to worry about locking it up if I needed to. I was able to go up to our campsite at 8,700 feet in two-wheel drive. So I never had to put it in four-wheel drive to get up there.
Bobcat's that way because I've got the spool in the rear. Yeah. So I just go out, I chirp on the road and I drive all these places. And it's funny because sometimes I'll just play and I don't want to push it too hard. I don't want to break anything, but I'll go in the Rubicon in two-wheel drive and I'll get up to like Gatekeeper and be all twisted up in Gatekeeper and hop out and everybody's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I forgot to lock my hubs, and I'm like in the middle of Gatekeeper, it's still in two-wheel drive. And they're like, you're in two-wheel drive? I'm like, yeah, I'm still in two-wheel drive. I'm about to put it in 4.
Yeah. So that was fun. And having the twin stick, I liked the twin stick. Because then again, with the welded rear, you can just drop into low, 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 but stay in two-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And it just kind of crawl up.
That's interesting that you don't two-wheel drive. So. It's not really like a thing you absolutely need.
No.
But it's a totally fun thing to play with.
And play around with. Yeah.
And it confused people more about it. Like, wait, how many shifters are in here?
Yeah.
Now, I have a twin stick and I was going to put it in Bobcat. And I'm not sure if I'm going to because I have my T-case adapter is clocked 10 degrees.
So that'll throw off.
And it throws the shifters. Well, it throws the shifters into the driver's seat.
Oh, it's clocked driver's side.
Yeah, so that the output shaft is up higher and the drive shaft moves up out of the way of rocks. And so it throws the shifters into the driver's seat. And I'm kind of like, you know what? I think it's cool and it's fun and it'd be neat to have. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it.
Yeah. You don't want the bruises on your hip.
Yeah. I just don't. I don't know how. I haven't put it in. Mm-hmm. I put it on and went like, this isn't right. Like, what's wrong? And then I was like, oh yeah, I got a clocked T-case. I never really did it because I didn't want to worry about it next to the seat or on the seat or hitting me or any of that. And I actually had to cut more of my floor away because I needed to put it over more. Mm-hmm. And I cut the slits to bend the metal out of the way. And then I decided I didn't want it, so I just bent the metal back up into place.
Nice.
And it's carpet.
Floorboards.
It's carpet there still, so it hides it all.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it did great.
Yeah.
Camping in it was fun.
Yeah, you said you camped inside of it.
I did. I slept inside the second gen instead of setting up my tent because when we got to our campsite Friday night, which was my new favorite campsite, it was a little windy. And I was like, I don't know where it's kind of exposed where we camped at. So if it does stay windy, it could make for a really interesting time in a tent, especially because I got a Gazelle. The tent I got is a Gazelle. So it's a big brick in the middle. It's not aerodynamic whatsoever.
Sure.
So it catches wind. So I was like, I think I'll just sleep in the 4Runner tonight.
Okay.
And see how that works out.
Yeah.
And so I did that. It definitely needs a mattress or a pad of some kind to sleep in.
Did you have one?
I had one, but it was too wide. The subwoofer takes up too much room in the cargo area. So I couldn't put the air mattress down.
So you just slept on the carpet and the
pretty much
back of the seats?
The sleeping bag I got was one of those. It comes with 2 sleeping bags and they zip together to create a 2-person sleeping bag.
Got it.
So I just unzipped them and used one of them as cushioning.
Sure.
And it wasn't quite enough cushioning. But the thing that always kind of made sleeping in the first gen terrible was that if I needed to get up in the middle of the night and go pee or something, climbing out between the folded forward seat and the B-pillar to get out of the first gen sucked.
Sure.
Oh, it was terrible. Because I'm 6'4". And it doesn't work it's not easy to get back there.
Yeah.
So having the 4 doors was amazing
Yes.
for that. So I can see myself if the secretary doesn't go with me, or if I don't have buddies that go with me for camping overnight, I will probably stay in the first gen or stay in the back of the second gen for camping.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I
watch out, everybody. Tyler's moving to an overlander.
No, I won't have a rooftop tent though.
Nah.
But the AC and heat works amazing.
Nice. In
the second gen. So, if it does get super cold at night when I'm sleeping, I can just reach through the front, turn on the engine, and run the heat for 10 minutes and have them all nice and toasty again.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have my onboard air system, so I didn't have my twin ARB and my air tank and everything.
Right.
But I did get my power tank refilled.
Okay.
I used my power tank to air up my tires and I timed it this time, rather than just kind of sitting there.
From 3
to 27
to 27 pounds. Mm-hmm. Okay.
In 37-inch tires.
Yep.
And it took 2 minutes and 13 seconds
for all four
tires. So that was awesome. That worked great. And I ended up using my power tank twice to air up, and then once on somebody else's vehicle. It's down. I think it's down probably about half, a little under half. So I think I've got 5 fill-ups.
Okay. Yeah.
In for 37-inch tires for a 10-pound power tank. So I got to figure out.
Why'd you have to fill up twice?
Because we drove.
Is it a good stretch between Deer Valley and Strawberry? Okay.
It is a good stretch between the two, but then
farther than Slick Rock to Deer Valley?
It's about the same.
Okay.
But you're on Highway 88, which is a much busier highway than Highway 4 between Slick Rock and Deer Valley.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
So you get a lot more traffic and you need to stay up pace more.
Yes.
That and the road we took to get into the campsite was a good 10-mile road. Granted, it would have been better to be aired down, but I didn't really feel like I needed to be aired down. So those Fox 2.0 shocks were working pretty well. And of course, the used leaf springs were absorbing a lot of the
excellent
bounce in the road. I do want my iRocks on there and my 15-inch rims. I do want new leaf springs in the rear.
Mm-hmm.
I do want my axles. I do want my 4.7 gear. But everything else, the interior of the cab worked out amazing. I love having 4 doors. Use them all the time. I had more stuff in the back seat than I did in the cargo area. So
interesting.
I loved that. It was very comfortable to have a passenger in there with me the whole time.
Yep.
The AC, the heat, everything worked great. And the engine's awesome. The transmission's great. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the second gen. And I think once we get those couple things swapped over with the Swappy swap, it's going to be an awesome rig. So
sweet. Yeah. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good shakedown run to learn a little bit more about the rig and what we want, what needs to be changed and what you want to change and things like that. Yeah. Definitely.
So it just kind of confirms some of the things I was already thinking. It confirms I don't want to do an engine swap for now.
Okay.
So that's not going to be on the to-do list at all. I think with that engine and transmission, I do want to go up to the 3950 iRocks as soon as possible.
Ooh.
So we'll see. I was, with the 37s, I was tucking into the firewall a couple of times. But that was also with the rears up front, the rear up front suspension, the springs.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that those are pretty clapped out. So if I swap those out for the same springs I have in the first gen, I might be able to run the 3950s without too much trimming at all.
Wow. Okay.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't even think I'm going to do that because we'll be looking at putting on the coilovers over the winter time.
True.
So I don't think I'll bother with that. I'll just deal with the 37s or the 36-inch iRocks until we do the coilovers, and then hopefully build the coilovers high enough, tall enough to do 3950s.
Yeah. Well, and the benefit of a 3-link suspension is that if it's built correctly, the tire is going to be moving more up and down, and you don't have the shackle.
Oh, that's true. So it won't be moving backwards into the firewall. It's not going to be moving
back
into the firewall. Point. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
If all or very much at all.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, so that's one of the big benefits about link setups, 4 links, 3 links, is that they're more moving straight up and down.
Yeah.
For the most part,
than an arc pattern.
Than an arc and swinging backwards.
No,
now they do arc because they're still on arms and they're attached,
but they arc more laterally.
Yeah.
Due to the panhard bar usually, then they arc forwards and backwards.
Yeah, well, they're not going forwards at all.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they might, depending on where your links are and how flat they are, if they're up or whatnot. But, I mean, if you're having a 48-inch, long arm, you have a 48-inch radius that your axle's kind of going to be swinging at, So it is going to be moving back, but it's not moving back nearly what a shackle would be doing or any of that. And when it compresses, it's not swinging backwards at you so much. And I mean, so you might... I was talking to Hustle Nuts, and we were talking about linking Bobcat and trying to fit 40s, and he was like, "You might be able to fit it. Like if you link it, you might be able to fit them
without extending the axle and
moving anything forward because it's going to be swinging up and down. It's not going to be going backwards."
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. So that's a good point. So you're telling me if we linked the 4Runner now, I can go up to the 3950s right away?
Possibly. Yeah.
I have Barrett Lake coming up. I can't miss that trip. So,
well, you're not going to be at the 39s for Barrett anyway.
No, but if we went to link it, then I wouldn't have the rig for Barrett Lake.
No, probably not.
So
that, or we'd have to cancel all plans for the next few weeks.
Yeah,
and you should have ordered the parts already.
Yeah.
Or we're going to rough stuff right now.
We're coming over, guys. We'll see you soon. So that's the 4Runner. That's the update. That's the shakedown run, how it did. I will give huge credit to Toyota. They made I was laying in the rig on Saturday morning, from waking up.
Yeah. And
I was laying in there. I was looking around just kind of at the interior paneling, thinking of how quiet it was inside. While I'm driving around.
Okay.
And they made a lot of changes to those second gen 4Runners versus the first gens. Granted, the first gen I have is an 85 and this one's a 94. So there's almost 10 years. A decade of difference there. But there was a lot of differences in how everything is set up.
You got a whole hard shell full thing now where yours is you can pull the back off, the top off.
In a first gen.
Right. Yeah. And so you've got this fiberglass back half of a truck that lets all this noise through.
Yeah.
Where in the second gen, it's, probably has some Dynamat in it. It's got the fabric. It's got a full, like the top of that one is clean and it's not falling apart. And, it's got a whole bunch more interior. So that deadens the sound a lot too. So,
speaking of interesting second gens.
Okay.
I ran into... I'm going to pull up a picture here, and we'll show it to the cameras so you guys can see it. It was a very interesting rig, and when I first saw it, I didn't know what it was. And I was going to... I guess I already gave it away. But there it is. See if you guys can see it here with the camera. So there's the rig. Now I'm going to let Jimmy look at it. What do you think of that rig? What at first glimpse, what do you think it is?
A Nissan Pathfinder.
That's what I thought too.
But it's a 2-door.
It's a 2-door.
Second gen
4Runner, which I did not know existed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was talking with the owner about it.
But those diamond windows in the back makes it look like the Nissan.
Oh, totally. That's what I thought it was. Nissan a Pathfinder. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I noticed the body lines looked like a 4Runner, and I was really confused for a while, the fender lines and everything. And I was walking by it, and I was like, I think that's was it a newer Pathfinder? And there's a sweet first gen in the background.
Yeah, I know. I was just looking at that.
But the owner, I ran into him, and he goes, oh yeah, I have a 2-door second gen. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, I have a 2-door second gen. It's out in the parking lot. And I was like, what do you mean you have a first gen? He goes, no, I have a 2-door second gen. I was like, no, you don't. I was arguing with him for a little bit. And sure enough, he took me out to the parking lot, and I was like, "Son of a bitch!"
We just got our E label.
There's our E label. Yeah, so it's a 2-door second gen, complete hard shell, everything 4Runner. Yeah. Which supposedly there was only like 1,000 to 3,000 of those made.
Oh, really?
That's what he was saying. So, I was like, okay, that's a pretty damn cool rig. I was pretty excited. And I was like, Jimmy's got to see this. I got to get a picture.
Send me that photo and I can add it to the video.
Okay. Yeah, we'll add it to the video. We'll put it right up here. So it's right here, right now, everybody. The second gen 4Runner is right here in between us. The dead space. Ow. So anyways, that's what I get.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other questions you had about anything that we can answer?
No, I think that was it. I was really kind of curious at what you thought of the T cases, how the tires ran, the motor, which we discussed, the transmission, if you like that, on and off road, because you were saying how you enjoyed driving it around town because it had that little higher gears at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I was curious if you missed the low gears off road.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't sound like you did at all.
I mean, I did, but I think with the 4.7 in there, it'll make up for it, and I'll have all the low gears just fine.
Yeah,
so
totally. And I think with the suspension changes and axle changes that we're going to do, I think that you're going to be happy with the rig once we get those things done. So
yeah, that's it. We'll have to do a listener meetup at some point here and go to the camping spot. Take the listeners to the camping spot for the listener meetup.
Maybe we can do a Patreon one.
That'd be cool.
It'd be a more controlled event.
Yeah.
And I know on our $20 tier, we do have free, we will pay some entrances to some events, and we don't have any events. So maybe we'll do a food thing where we...
A barbecue?
Barbecue where we'll supply food for the patrons and something like that.
Yeah. So,
that'd be fun.
We'll have to see if we can do that before it gets too inclement weather. Plan something out.
We better do it ASAP.
Yeah, I know. So cool. That's going to do it for today. Stay tuned to see if we do a listener meetup up there. I think it'd be pretty cool. It doesn't, like I said, I got in there 2-wheel drive. So any stock 4-wheel drive, a Subaru can get in there. But it's a really cool place. So we may end up doing something there.
Cool.
Stay tuned. I guess we'll just wrap this episode up from there.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any feedback, you have any extra questions about the second gen that you wanted to hear about, I know we had one listener, Evan, one of our Patreons, said, I'm so excited that you got a second gen because now everything you do is going to relate to me because I have a second gen.
That's awesome.
So I've already been talking with him about his solid axle swap, his SAS he has coming up, and what suspension to look at for putting under it.
Right.
To run the tires he wants to run. So that's been fun. I've been having that conversation with him. And if you guys have any other questions...
Sherpa wrote us too, talking about 3 links and 4 links and sending us links like that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to check that email. I haven't checked it yet. There's going to be lots of, I think, feedback coming in. And so if you guys have any other questions you want answered, send them to either Jimmy at SnailTrail4x4.com or Tyler at SnailTrail4x4.com, and we'll get those answered for you guys. Check out the YouTube, check out the Instagram, go to the website if you want those free Snail Trail stickers. Check out the website there. And SnailTrail4x4.com is where that's located at the website. Yep. You have to sit there for at least, I think it's 3 seconds. I have the pop-up set to. So sit there for 3 seconds. Don't click on anything, and a pop-up will come up. Put your email in there, and we'll get some stickers sent to you guys.
Yeah, I've been doing those about once every 2 weeks.
Okay, so...
I've sent about 100 stickers out.
Nice.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's cool. 100 Snail Trail stickers going out. I'm sending out Snail Trail stickers with every Morphlate as well. So that's another way you can get your hands on some Snail Trail stickers.
There you go. Go buy a Morphlate.
Go buy a Morphlate. So cool. Yeah, that's it for today. Any final words for everybody out there, Mr. Jet?
Let's go rip apart a first gen.
And with that, my friends, keep crawling.